I think the intent is to try and get more quicker, but I don't know that this hits the mark. It might get more, okay? Because now we can do more on a site, but is it going to be quicker? It's great that, you know, they're trying to give us clarity, right? And like, look at this fucking mess. Nobody still knows what's going on. And I think, especially from my perspective, probably Chris's as well, I'm guessing Blair's, to have something that works, that is prescribed, that you know what you can do, okay? Even if I can't ever do more than this, this is a beautiful thing, right?
Sure.
But we have to guess, even though they give us this book that says, this is what we're going to allow you to do, we still know that we can do more, and we can go to this and we can go to that, and we can pay this guy who says, I can do this now. It's like, people don't get how crazy and how hard it is to get this stuff to market, right? Like, forget about just buying the thing. I mean, that's next to impossible, right? Okay. But then like, people got to understand what you guys are talking about, among a million other things, right? To get these things off the ground. And so I think the intent is to try and get more quicker, but I don't know that this hits the mark. It might get more. Okay, because now we can do more on a site, but is it going to be quicker? Because like, you know very well, Chris, I mean, you're waiting for these answers because you got due diligence, you're trying to design buildings, you want to go in, you got to figure out what the hell you can do there, right? And that's what everybody's doing. But we're going to get to the point where these appeals are finished and this thing is passed and nobody still knows what's going on, because even though they cap one thing, the rest of it's not like confined to, hey, this is the rules. Don't come in for anything else, because you're not getting anything else. And as hard as that is to say as a developer, because it's nice to know something other people don't know so that you can push up and like get a big grand slam. The beautiful thing that would be in this market to get the more housing quicker is that clarity of like, this is the box, guys. Like, fuck off, figure it out, go. Right. But don't give us something that isn't as of right now. Right. Like, the whole beauty and the whole point of this rant was that I thought I was going to get something that was as of right, that the neighbors weren't going to get to bust my balls and fuck everything up, that the city wasn't going to be able to say, well, you know what, like, if you just moved this over 4 inches, we would be super satisfied. Right. Like, I was hoping I could just go, oh, I can do something great on every single site now because everything makes sense. Maybe it's just the amount I pay that is going to be the problem. Right. And boom, there's a permit. Let the next problem come up where there's not enough labor for all these permits that we get. Right.
Well, the other thing I want to see, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Blair, is this will, if you're above 10 units, trigger site plan control, which is its own process. It's obviously quite different from a zoning bylaw amendment, but there's still a lot of work and some amount of negotiation with the city through that process. At this scale, I think it makes a lot of sense to slim down and expedite site plan control and approval. I don't know if that's in the works, but yeah, I think you're right. Like, a sane world, a sane development market is where much more is predictable, much less is discretionary, much less involves community input and like your neighbor like vetoing in some way what you're trying to do. I think this is a step in that direction, but you're right that like we're not there. You're not going straight to permits.
I think that'll push land prices up. I think that there'll be somebody who'll be sitting on something and they'll say, oh, you're going to do what on my land? Because I got this notice with these like check boxes that, you know, this is what you can do now. So I think like, there's always complications.
We talked about
you mentioned
that a long
doing
time ago.
purpose-built rental. So like you said, both right now you're working on purpose-built rental. So is that because of some of the tax incentives, because of the state of the pre-con condo market? Like, why are you doing that?
It's a few. I mean, the most important reason is because for me, it's a more interesting business to build assets that we could hold on to long term. The pro formas don't look as nice as condo, but you know, condo, you're in the game where you're only as good as your last deal. And I'm guessing that at some point I'm gonna just get tired and want to, I don't know, play golf. So like right now, it's like hustle time. Let's build these rental buildings. Let's manage these units. And over time, like rental gets better and better. You don't have kind of like all the sale revenue up front, but over time, rental in a market that you truly believe in, and I do truly believe in Toronto, I think is a more interesting business model. And then in addition to that, we have had things break in our direction. So like HST exemption broke in our direction. And I say our, like rental builders, which has been great. You could defer development charges on rental, which is great. MLI select financing, which I'm sure you guys have talked about, is great. So all these things, like it's one thing to like the business model, it's another thing for the business model to be viable. And these things that have happened over the last year or two have helped make the business a little bit more viable.
The hell were you doing before then?
I
how
understand
did it work before? Yeah.
Well, this is new to us.
Yeah.
We've been like we've been like diving into this in anticipation of this policy change, like literally just this year since January.
Yeah.
I like how that mentality. Go ahead, Blair.
I was just going to say, just following up on the sort of the earlier question. And then Chris, I agree with you. I'm curious to know Chris's thoughts on this. Our friend Nama Blonder made a presentation yesterday at the Missing Middle Summit, and one of the things that she said was sort of alluded to, this idea that the regulations as sort of currently structured are really going to lend themselves towards smaller mid-rise buildings and townhouse developments. So I think to Chris's point about site plan control, unless you're going significantly beyond the 30, like no one's going to want to do a 35 unit building, not only for the amenity space requirements, but because of the site plan approval, right? If you're not going 40, 50, or 60 units, which require a lot more, lot consolidation, higher upfront costs, right? These policies and regulations to me seem stacked with the intent specifically of like promoting smaller scale mid-rise and townhouse developments. So I think we're going to see a lot of that, if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see some like really high end product, big units. So the kind of stuff that Darryl likes to do. I think this is going to lead to a lot more of that.
For sure.
There's only certain things that work right now. I mean, it's pretty amazing how the entire industry is now talking about MLI select and purpose-built rentals and takeout percentages, right? This is very foreign to most people because everybody's been condo, right? Except for a few guys that have been doing this. And now all these things are so new. It's like, holy cow. So like rental works and then like super high end condo, and there's nothing else that works right now. And that's why every project got shelved in the last 6 months because
it seems like the government intervention is really what pushes the needle. I mean, with MURBs to get all the apartment buildings that were built in the past, I feel like the government has more power. Like they don't really know how to use it, but I feel like without their help, we're not building rentals.
Yeah,
it ain't happening in any area.
Yeah, well, I think it cuts both ways. Either without their help, so like these CMHC insurance programs are help, and without them like actively harming the business model. So without getting into like the politics of it, it helps that we don't have rent control on new buildings, and it certainly helps that we don't have anything like vacancy control, which might have some benefits in terms of security of tenure and stuff like that. But in terms of making a rental development pro forma work, like that's a killer.
So I guess it's going to be a little while before we get another chunk of good news in the development space. So, I mean, I guess this will keep us busy for a little while. I feel like there's a land of opportunity somewhere in here once we all kind of, get over the fact that we didn't get what we want. And now we can look at stuff, the way that it is, right? Instead of the way we were hoping it was going to be. It really should help get some stuff on the market. But you're right. It sounds like from what you guys are saying that you're really going to need a good reason to go over that 30 unit mark. But the problem for me that I keep talking about is that 30 unit thing really forces giant units, right? To areas that can't handle the rent necessary to cover that giant unit, right? So the 60 really helps on those outskirt properties, right? Because now all of a sudden you got 500, 600, 700 square foot units again, mixed in with 12, 1400 square foot units. And now you can kind of spread it out over those 60 units, right? It's a much different pro forma, but now you have all this amenity space, and now you have this giant chunk of the ground floor that disappears. So it's like they're not helping it. It's like just help us get more housing, guys. It's like literally, you guys are taking away 15 units from the building for no reason.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our clips channel. Why don't you go and check out some more clips? We got lots of other good content somewhere over here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Boom.
That was good.
That was good. I like that. That was good.